Hello, and welcome to the Original Remake Podcast, a show where we take the role of Hollywood executives, shamelessly exploiting your nostalgia for money. My name is Pat, and I'm joined by Amy.
Hello.
Andrea.
Hello.
And Nick.
Oh, hi.
And today we are discussing the 1996 Broken Arrow.
Yeah, ain't it cool?
Oh my
Sorry, I could not resist.
Isn't it cool?
Best line in the movie, period.
That doesn't make
And
it
that
a
is
good
the only
line,
correct
though.
answer.
Oh,
I am partial to the guy who says, I don't know what's scarier, that we lose nuclear weapons or it happens often enough for it to have a name.
I
That's
do
a
like
great
that.
line.
I wrote that
agree.
down as like one of the better quotes.
Yeah. So this is Andrea, this is your pick. Why don't you give us a very brief synopsis of the film for the two people who haven't seen it?
I think it's funny that you say very brief. Probably because every other time you've spent editing, you're like, oh God, this is so long. Okay, so
No, I said very brief because I feel like I can explain this movie, or this movie can be explained in like a sentence.
okay.
I don't know. Is that a challenge for her?
All right, let me try.
It could
Hang
be a
on.
long
It
run
could
on
be a
sentence. I
run-on
don't mind. Yeah.
sentence.
Let me try.
Semicolon.
Two B-52 bomber pilots fight with each other in order to make sure that nuclear weapons either do or do not fall into the wrong hands.
Good enough. That essentially describes the plot.
Kind of does.
Except they were not B-52 pilots.
What? They were B-53, I think is what they said in the movie, right?
They said something like B-3, which is a fictional aircraft.
Sorry, not B-52,
It was
B-2.
a B-2, yeah.
Sorry, B-52 is
They
something
use
different.
there's an era of time in our military industrial complex where it was really cool to spend lots of money on planes, and that time was the 90s where we had like all of these cool stealth bombers, and when we were growing up those were just awesome. You all had a toy bomber, you know what I mean? It's one of those planes. It's just a cool stealth nuclear bomb plane.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like the longer than one sentence explanation is there are two bomber pilots. One goes crazy. The other one tries to stop the crazy one from stealing nuclear weapons. That is actually a better description.
Yeah.
You did better in the second time.
I did. And that's it. End of podcast.
That's it. That's all we need to know. So
until next time, everyone.
So this is a film, I guess briefly, this is one of those films where for my sister and I, this is one of our kind of core growing up in the 90s action films. We saw this when we were pretty young.
Yeah.
And it's pretty bad. It's like the good kind of bad, like you enjoy it even though it's bad, but it is bad. But at the time, man,
it was good.
What a film. It was a great film, yeah.
Like I remember seeing it a lot when I was a kid because it was on HBO and we had HBO for some reason. And I remember watching it and really liking it. And I remember being like, oh yeah, John Travolta movies. And I remember seeing like at the same time, like Phenomenon, Face Off, Look Who's Talking To. And like, I really liked those kind of, those kind of 90s movies. And Broken Arrow was like one of them.
Yeah, the director John Woo is one of those kind of like Hong Kong action directors. And this is kind of the start of his American adventure. He did Face Off. He did probably most famously, he did Mission Impossible 2,
which was the worst one,
aka the worst Mission Impossible. But honestly, like Face Off, like Broken Arrow, a guilty pleasure for me. I'll watch Mission Impossible 2 anytime. Tom Cruise can run out of Room of Doves anytime he wants.
His hair was terrible in that movie.
His hair? out of
Yeah.
everything.
Yep. That's all I really remember.
Listen,
So-
it was before 9/11.
Oh my
okay?
God.
Can we just let it go?
Face Off was a John Woo movie.
Yep.
Damn, I did not realize that.
I did not care for what I assume is direction on the part of John Woo to basically say, pretend you're in middle school playing finger guns in your backyard, because that's what I feel like every single action scene was in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah?
Like jumping over crates and
Yeah.
hopping through the copper mine with a
Yes.
submachine gun.
Christian Slater is very springy in this film.
there was no tactical consultancy whatsoever.
No.
They didn't even try.
And just having sparks fly everywhere and having to assume that the character is perfectly fine, even though he's walking through bullet fire.
Right.
Yes.
And everything that
Everyone's a
crashes
stormtrooper.
explodes.
Yes.
Everyone's a stormtrooper.
Like a car crashes into a building, burst of flames.
Yeah. It's like Michael Bay before Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
John
And
Woo was doing Michael Bay before it was cool.
yeah. And he, that's a distinct style for him. And I've seen a couple of his more famous like Hong Kong movies, like Hard Boiled and Bullet in the Head, and a couple of others that I can't remember the names of. But there was a while when I was getting into kind of just watching lots of movies in the 90s and the early 2000s as a very young adult, where I would go and if I liked a director, I would go get all of his foreign movies off of the Netflix, and by Netflix I mean the discs that you had to mail away.
Oh my God.
And they had everything, every movie you could ever think of. You could
Yes.
ask Netflix to send you a DVD in the mail for.
And it would come in like 2 days.
Good
You'd
times.
get 3 days to watch it.
Yeah.
When the world was simpler.
My dad and I had a 10 DVD plan, and we would just
Wow.
constantly every day just watch a movie.
Disc a day.
So maybe this is why you just like have an encyclopedic knowledge of all these films.
Probably. Yes. Yeah. I have no other useful skill set as an adult, but I do know a lot about movies.
Well, we're here, so it's useful.
But yeah, it's a very John Woo style action film, and quite frankly, as we speak about this in the year 2023, when we've got films like John Wick, the new Mission Impossible films, and pretty much anything Tom Cruise does these days, Mad Max Fury Road, Top Gun Maverick, the action these days doesn't hold up. Right?
What do you mean?
Like, so far as like how it being an entertaining movie for the action, I was far more entertained in the 90s than I am now.
Mm.
Whereas if 20 years from now I go back and watch Mad Max Fury Road or John Wick, I think I will be as entertained then as I am now.
That's a good point, because I like a lot of the fight scenes I really enjoyed, like the last one, call me disgusting and terrible, but I really enjoyed the last fight scene. And like, I enjoyed it now and I enjoyed it then. And it's not like I can think of a Marvel film or property other than Daredevil and say, oh, that movie had great fight scenes. Like, not really. I can't think of anything right now, and maybe Inception, but that's because they had rotating sets and where they were fighting. But there's not a lot of films nowadays where I can think of and be like, yeah, that was good.
I think you make an excellent point there. I was going to say, how much of this is nostalgia and because you experienced it for the first time in your teens and younger years, how much of it is because of that? It's that first impression of seeing that type of movie. Maybe that's why it has so much value. And I think you brought up a good point. Things like Inception.
That was the first time something like that was
something
really
like
done.
that was done. Maybe that's why it carries a little bit more weight for you.
And
maybe
like
that's
the first
why
season of Daredevil, that long hallway where it's just like a fight scene down a long hallway. Like everybody waxes poetic about that scene because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's kind of like the first time that a TV show did something like that.
I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it's the first time you experienced something like that.
True.
And maybe it weighs a little bit heavier because of that experience.
similar to what you're talking about there. When you go see a Tom Cruise film, specifically Mission Impossible, I believe it's the fifth one where Ethan Hunt is strapped to the side of a plane while it takes off.
Yeah.
Or in the sixth one where he skydives. He actually does that. They actually strap Tom Cruise to the side of a plane, and there is something special about knowing that as you go into the theater that makes it very unique. And even in the upcoming seventh one, Dead Reckoning, I've already seen one of the trailers, just them talking about how Tom Cruise drives a bike off a cliff for real and then base jumps after he does it. And I don't care the fact that action scene has been ruined for me now. When I go see the film in the theater, it's going to be just as cool to see a real person, not a stunt person, drive a bike off a cliff and base jump. And I can't imagine the insurance costs that they're charging Tom Cruise, but
I was thinking that when we watched the movie with Tom Cruise recently, what was it?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow we just watched, and I was
that
thinking,
was a good one.
I wonder how much insurance he has to deal with.
He's got to have a special. There's got to be a special Tom Cruise rider that the bank has literally written down. If Tom Cruise dies,
He probably owns an insurance company.
Possibly.
Probably, yeah. But
I can't get insurance.
It's fine. Scientology will save him.
Oh, geez.
Oh gosh.
Triggered.
speaking of Scientologists, Scientology, John Travolta is also a Scientologist. So
I
we're on a roll
know.
right now.
Battlefield Earth was his like weird foray into films that evoke Scientology or something. I don't know.
Coming of Xenu.
It's based. It's a film that's based on the mythology of Scientology, which, if you haven't listened to our other episode where we kind of touch on this, is a cult and terrible, and people who are in it are also terrible.
I think that was our last episode. Not Jupiter Ascending, but the one before.
That's right. Yeah.
Randomizer.
The randomizer, yeah. But anyway, to kind of get back to the point of the action, because this is an action film, like we were saying, there's something special about a lot of the action films that have come out recently. And back in the 90s, I think the John Woo style of kind of frenetic gun action, not quite gung fu, but the kind of insane gunplay, there's something very nostalgic about that type of movie. And so this is definitely a movie that kind of hits perfectly the nostalgia button for that action. But today, I think outside of Andrea, like you said, the last action scene, which doesn't have a lot of guns in it, is mostly just people. It goes back to the boxing scene from the beginning of the film.
Ugh.
And I agree that that's the best action scene in the movie, is that last action scene. Specifically, and this is a little bit of spoilers, but specifically John Travolta getting impaled on a nuclear weapon is pretty cool.
And smiling about it.
Yeah.
Like gives the nuclear weapon this like little smirk.
I don't think that was like a smile. I think it was like, come on, Nuke. Do you know who I am?
Yeah, because his character does get pretty psychotic toward the end.
He's right. He's an egomaniac right up to the end. And actually, maybe we should jump onto that, which is John Travolta's fantastic in this movie, and I love it. Does anyone disagree with that?
Was that a question mark?
I love it. What?
I don't know.
I think so he is hilarious in this movie, and I do want to talk about that. Like, can we talk about some parts being funny? I think he spends he does this thing where he keeps his teeth clenched when he's talking.
Yeah.
Like, for example, he'll be like, "Don't shoot the thermonuclear warhead." And of course we can't see this because it's audio only, but my teeth did not, my mouth did not open for that.
It changes the way you sound.
Yes, it does. And I mean, I think that the movie is like, the acting is good, but I feel like, but it's plagued by a bad script.
I feel like it's plagued by bad direction.
Well, yeah.
Because I like the premise. I like the idea.
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily like the execution. I think the action scenes were a little too over the top and didn't have any focus other than, hey, you know what?
Let's fight each other.
What would it be cool? Are we just going to shoot guns at each other, or are we going to accidentally explode everything?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like the actors did the best they could with what they had to work with.
I feel like the director literally said, all right, and then we're gonna have a train scene, and it's gonna be like we're gonna be running on top of rail cars, and you know what would be cool?
If we blew up
If we put a helicopter on it. Oh man, that would be cool. Like, I feel like at every turn, they're like, oh yeah, well, my train has a helicopter. Oh yeah, well, mine has a nuke in it. Oh yeah, like that third grade one-upsmanship.
Only he's doing it with himself
I don't.
as the
I,
director.
Yeah.
I don't mind the helicopter on the train. I think the train scene is my favorite part.
Sure.
I think we're trying to give too much credit to this film. What I want and what I would want in a remake is a good action film with the two main characters being at odds as far as who they are. John Travolta's Deakins is a egomaniac. He's strong, he's confident, overconfident, but confident nonetheless.
Mhm.
And Christian Slater's Hale is a more down-to-earth, humble, quiet character.
He's
And
actually also smaller in stature because you said that Deakins is like a bigger dude.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but he's a quieter character. He's not one to necessarily take the initiative or be so outgoing as to go above and beyond just to win, right? So I like that. And he's also, they talk about it in the plane, right? Hale is a patriot. He's an Air Force man, and he's gonna stay in the Air Force. Deakins is not there for patriotism or for his country. He's there because flying a stealth nuclear bomber is cool. And then when he feels like he, doesn't get what he deserves, aka money, then he kind of launches this plan because he deserves it, and his country hasn't taken care of him, and that type of thing. He doesn't have any personal responsibility for where he puts himself. And I like that character interaction between those two, but I don't need like super depth to the characters. I just want a good action film. Does that make sense?
that makes
Yes.
sense.
I think if you took the movie as it is today, as a loose script, and gave it the John Wick choreography and fight sequence overhaul, maybe mixed in a little bit of Mission Impossible, you could have an excellent movie on your hands.
I mean, you've got to rewrite the script.
Why?
What do you mean, why? Like, some of these one-liners are terrible.
You're saying amazing wrong.
Oh my God. I wrote a list of all of the one-liners that I just was like, oh God, that was a lot worse than I thought. God damn, what a rush. How about that? Or
You're out of your mind.
yeah, ain't it cool? Like that. What? Or the or my God, Howie Long. The shockwave took down the chopper. You the man. Like, seriously,
You're the man, Deke.
right? Like, it's so bad.
Isn't that
It's
how
like,
everyone talks in the 90s? I don't know. I thought that was.
it's like written by someone who thinks they know how people talk.
Listen, I think the script is the bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, please get off my podcast. No, there's definitely some cool one-liners,
There are.
and there's definitely some cringe ones.
Yes.
And I agree. I think you make this like a John Wick. Like, imagine the train scene, except John Wick has to like gung fu his way through carriage after carriage instead of just like
running on top.
running on top of it, and
hiding underneath it for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I could imagine Andrew, you mentioned the Daredevil hallway scene.
Yeah.
Having a scene like that where he has to constantly, jump in and out of things and stuff like that. That would be an awesome set piece. And that's my main problem with the film is, as an action film, as an adult now, the two main action pieces are the train, which I enjoy, and then really the only other major one is the mine scene, and that's just really boring. When I rewatched it now, it was incredibly.
It drags.
It does drag quite a bit, and it's like, that's supposed to be the cool scene where they literally explode a nuclear weapon at the end of it.
Yep.
That, watching it again and this many years later, you can tell that scene and a few others throughout, but this scene in particular in the mine when they detonate the nuke and they show the top-down view of like the ground collapsing into a crater, you can tell that was 100% trailer bait.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that entire sequence of events even existed.
I have so many thoughts about how to remake this movie and what I thought was great about it without, like, I want to talk more about it, but
You don't want to jump into changes already.
right.
That's fair. So we can jump in then to casting from here. One thing I will say before we do is I want to give a shout out to whoever designed the main titles of this film, because that's literally word art. I don't know if anyone remembers word art from like the early 2000s / 1990s.
Word art was amazing at the time, right?
Yeah.
Everyone who did school projects.
Yeah. Do they still have word art in Microsoft?
I doubt it.
They do.
Do they really?
They do.
It was great. It was just a weird, back in the 90s, it was like the coolest thing you could do to a Word document.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the titles looked like literally I made them out of word art.
Yep.
Which is great. Okay, so let's go ahead, before we kind of go ahead and talk about our changes. Let's go ahead with casting. Obviously, there's a lot of minor characters in the film, some of which I don't know if they need to be there, but we're going to focus on the three main characters here. That's Deakins, Hale, who are the two male leads, and then Carmichael is the female lead, played by the same woman who was in Amy's pick from the first round, Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
that's
Samantha Mathis.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I picked this one, because I remember flipping through it and I was like, oh my God, she's the woman from
She's Daisy.
Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, she's Princess Daisy. Let's watch this movie. I want to see what she does in an action film.
I didn't see much of a different character between the two movies. That's all I gotta say.
I mean, I liked her in this. Anyway.
I mean, she's not a great actress, right?
Not really. But she doesn't do a bad job.
No, they didn't give her much to work with. So
right. They didn't give anybody much to work with.
Considering she's in a Parks Rangers outfit, she looks good in that Park Rangers outfit.
Every Park Ranger looks like that when they get into that outfit.
Yeah.
You would look like that.
Awkward. Are we not recasting Howie Long?
Oh,
I'm just gonna erase
cutting him. I'm cutting him out of my movie.
So
for Captain Deakins.
So hold on a second. For casting, because I'm looking at our notes here. Normally we go one at a time. Andrea, since this is your film, and since I can see who you've cast for Deakins and Hale, can you just tell us who you've cast for both of these?
Yeah, it kind of hit me halfway through the movie, and I think these casting choices allow for like different ideas. Like you can play, because the two Deakins and Hale are kind of like brothers in a way. Like you don't necessarily like your brother, you'll probably punch him in the face if you're not friends, but I mean you do care about him at the end of the day, right?
You're gonna murder him if he's trying to end the world with nukes?
I mean, a shrug.
Listen, if my sister steals a nuclear weapon and tries to blackmail the U.S. government, I better get an invite to that party.
So I thought it would be cool to do Deakins, Chris Hemsworth as Deakins, and Liam Hemsworth as Hale. And Chris Hemsworth is the guy who plays Thor. He's obviously a bigger dude, and Liam Hemsworth is the guy most known for Gale in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So I thought you could do something.
He's most well known for being Chris Hemsworth's brother.
I was about to say, I don't know him any other way.
They are both very well known for the SNL skit, Liam Bit Me.
Yes, that is exactly what I brought up too. And I was like, oh my God, Liam bit me. He bit, like, that's what I thought of when I cast these two. And I was like, this could be fun.
So are you taking the main character, Captain Deakins, Chris Hemsworth, as comical or just crazy? Because for John Travolta, I did not see any humor in his character whatsoever.
I did.
You did? I mean,
I have thoughts about
serious
that.
humor or
before you kind of go on to talk about why you've cast them, are you casting these as brothers or just two brothers Like are the characters now brothers in the film?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I would make them have a bit of a more like a more brotherly relationship, but they would not be related. I think.
So
I mean,
they would be closer than Deakins
right.
and Hale in the current film.
Right. I think it would just make things more interesting. And Amy, to your point, like one of the things that I thought about about remaking the movie, one of the things I would change is there are times where I genuinely chuckle and I'm like, should I be laughing at that? Like, is this actually a comedy? What? And so that's like part of it, right? Because Chris Hemsworth is often funny.
Yeah, especially in the later Thor films, specific the third and the fourth one, they're basically comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Liam Hemsworth could play a good straight man to Chris's funny man.
That's fair. I don't think Chris Hemsworth can be evil enough. I really want Deakins to stick with the John Travolta. I'm out of my freaking mind. Ain't it cool?
Yeah.
That does make sense. Yeah.
It does make sense. I think your picks are great. I actually think Nick's picks are also really good.
My picks are the best picks.
Remains to be seen.
Let's see
they're the best.
Pick.
All right, so I picked for mine. We'll stick with Deakins for now. I picked John Bernthal. Is that how you say his name?
I have no idea.
Bernthal.
Say it again.
So I picked John Bernthal, who is probably most well known for the early seasons of The Walking Dead and also playing the Punisher in the Netflix TV show The Punisher, in which he was great, and I hope Disney just brings him across one day and lets him continue to be the Punisher.
They better.
I think he can be very, very genuine, and I think he can also be very, very... He can play a very good psychopath if he wants to, right? The Punisher is rational, he's reasonable, he knows what he's doing, but there's a screw loose in his head. Obviously, in the Punisher's case, a tragedy, but I think he's very good at playing a character who can be very angry and very arrogant while still being rational and kind of a character you can understand.
So what about, like, do you see him as being able to be humorous at all, or just no, he's a straight psychopath?
I think he's like, when we all agree that the best line in the movie is "Yeah, ain't it cool, man?" from John Travolta. That is an incredible line that makes me laugh, but it's not funny, and it's not supposed to be funny. It's just a great line. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
I don't think I do a lot of humor in this film at all, and I think Deakins, when a lot of the things that I laugh at in this film are the bad one-liners.
Yeah.
And
She's like, I like those.
Stop shooting at the nuclear weapons.
Yes.
And I love that one, even though it's bad. And I'd keep that, but I wouldn't play it for a joke. Like, if someone wants to be like, you know what I mean? Like, I just watched Predator the other night, and it's a very serious action movie, but like, it has the Schwarzenegger lines, stick around, and things like that. And it's like, that's kind of played for laughs, but he still stabbed a dude right through the chest with a knife, so I wouldn't go like so far as to make it a comedy, in that I wouldn't give Deacon's character like Arnold Schwarzenegger lines. But if he says, if Deacon says something to the other people who he, his minions that slowly die, and it is funny, that's fine. But it's not the primary concern. The primary concern is, I want an actor who can really, really make me love someone who is a very bad person.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Like, I don't like the scene where they're driving in the car and Pritchard, I think his name is, he's like bitching and complaining about something, and Deacon's like whacks him in the windpipe with like some kind of stick, and he goes,
Yeah.
hush, hush, and like I giggled, and I still giggle because it is so funny, and it's not supposed to be funny. He's literally killing a man, but
Yeah.
the way that it's played, it just makes me giggle.
And I think that's just John Travolta. I don't know. I feel like that actor, I don't ever see him as a bad guy. So whenever he plays a bad role, it throws me off.
Supposedly he's very nice. When I went home to England, there was a big news story because John Travolta was in a town close to my town filming a film, and all of the news stories were about how interviewing people who had met John Travolta and how nice he was to them. So I got to see that for like 3 nights of like, small town local news, English news. John Travolta's close by. But I think he does a great job being a villain in this film, and I want someone to replicate that in a remake. In John Woo's Face Off, he also had to play a good guy and a villain, and I thought he was good in that as well as the villainous.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he did well in the role in Face Off.
I have not seen Face Off in so long. Is that a movie that's on our remake list? I think it is.
I think it is.
Oh,
I think
man.
It's
Stay tuned.
It's such a cool concept. You
It
literally
is.
switch your face, right?
And it's got Nicolas Cage in it. What?
It does.
And
It's
John
got-
Travolta. What more
Yeah.
could you want?
Yeah.
We'll take
Classic.
his face
Yeah.
off. They did the thing.
They
did
said the thing.
They said the name of the movie.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like, oh my God, they said the name of the film. Oh my God.
Is that a John Woo thing?
I don't know.
Because they did it in Broken Arrow. Like, I'm not, like you said, I'm not sure what's scarier, that the government lost these or they do it so often it's got a name for it.
I don't know.
Like that happened in this movie. I know in Face Off they do it.
In Face Off, it's dumb because Face Off doesn't mean anything. In Broken Arrow, it makes sense because Broken Arrow is a term.
No,
right.
Face Off means something.
No, he literally just says, I'm gonna take his face off.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take his face off.
but it's
Oh.
not. Broken Arrow is like a proper noun.
Right,
Is it-
but
right?
a
Like-
face off is like a term. I mean, there's probably a term for it above and beyond hockey, but like when you put the puck on the ice and they're
Yeah.
facing each other, that's a face off.
Yeah, but the movie is like literally we're taking their face off.
I know.
Yeah. Like, I see you trying.
I'm trying
But-
so hard.
Listen,
but there's no
we-
saving it.
we really don't need to give John Woo any credit at all. He's not doing anything. We don't owe
No.
him.
He's not.
Amy, do you have someone for Deacons?
I do. I don't know if I'm on just this kick with this family right now, but I've always liked the whole family, all the actors. I chose for Captain Deacons, correct? That's how you say it.
Mhm.
Alexander Skarsgård. I think
Oh.
all the actors from the father down to the newer one who plays it, forgot his name, but Bill, thank you. Alexander Skarsgård, he was just in a movie recently where he played a no man. Is that what it was? Or
The Northman?
Northman, excuse me. Not even close to Nomad. But he just plays a really crazy character very well, I believe.
Yeah,
And
he was great in
he
that.
has sort of an era or a military essence where he just I don't know, I just look at him and I feel like he feels entitled, even though I'm sure he's a great guy.
You've seen Big Little Lies, right?
I have seen Big Little Lies.
Apparently he's
I've
like
seen
an absolute terrible person
He's
in that, right?
great.
His
Just
character.
saying. He what?
Apparently in that show he's a terrible his character is a very bad person.
Yeah,
right?
he plays bad guys as well as, good ones.
Yeah.
So
He was
I
in True
choose him.
Blood.
He was in True Blood. That's a favorite show of mine that's really bad.
I agree the
Apparently, he was
Skarsgård
also in Zoolander.
He was also in The Giver, and I don't remember that. I liked that movie.
That was a decent movie.
Yeah, the whole Skarsgård family is very talented. We just watched the American remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo with Daniel
Yeah.
Craig. Fantastic film.
Yeah.
I actually like the American version more than the Swedish version. And Stellan Skarsgård is in that, and he's fantastic also.
Oh, he is?
That's
Okay.
my pick. I think he's a good pick.
I agree.
All right, I could
Maybe a
see it.
little too young in my mind. I don't know why I thought this.
No, he's 46. He's 10 years older than us.
That is true.
Yeah.
He could be a senior pilot on this end of his ropes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's my pick.
He's in Succession also. I forgot about that. All right, awesome. That's a great pick. Nick, over to you for Deacons. What'd you have?
Are we ready for the best pick?
Strong disagree, but go ahead.
Jimmy Simpson from Westworld.
No. You've got it. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to correct you there. It's Jimmy Simpson from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I think you have that backwards, Beaster picks.
No.
The disgust.
You have
No, I don't.
Deacons is John Travolta's character.
Yes.
So you want Jimmy Simpson to be the evil guy.
You want Jimmy
Yes.
Simpson, the guy who kind of looks like Christian Slater, to be Deacons? We talked about that.
It's okay.
Yes.
I can't deny you anyone who's been in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I have to agree with you, even though you're wrong. I don't know if he can pull off a villain,
Evil face.
because even in Westworld, he is the protagonist of that season,
Yes.
right?
He
Mhm.
looks like he looks like Christian Slater. It
I'm
breaks
not
my brain.
I'm not going based off of what he looks like. I'm going based off of what I've seen his character do
I know.
in Westworld. Season 1, he was just being pushed around. He was Hale in season 1.
I see what you're doing here.
Okay.
But further seasons, he develops into the Black Hat. He develops into that evil character that throws morality out of the window to do whatever the hell he wants to do for his own purposes. He turns
okay.
into that evil character. And I like the idea that he could have started like Hale, seen himself like Hale, and evolved into the evil character that he turned into.
Okay,
I see where you're
That's-
going.
that's convincing. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I think he's a great actor. Obviously, his best role is a McPoyle in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but he was okay in Westworld too.
Westworld. Oh my god.
Also, I kind of couldn't help myself. He's smaller and spindly,
Mhm.
which fighter pilots are typically smaller in stature. Like
Mhm.
they're smaller
Oh,
people
really?
Yeah.
because you have to fit into the cockpit with a G suit and everything else. So, like, I didn't want to go with someone that just couldn't do it.
Fair. All right. Listen, I think he's a good enough actor to do it. I don't know. Again, I'm not necessarily sold on the villain based on his current roles, but I think if you look at the things he's been in, he's done a lot of like guest stars on TV shows and things like that.
He plays the
He's-
voice of the bad guys like henchman in Star Trek Prodigy.
Yes. Okay.
That was really specific.
He also plays a man called Mary in the show Psych, which is an excellent show. One of the reoccurring guest stars on that show. If you've ever seen it.
I've seen
have
that show
not.
and I don't recall that at all.
Yeah, he's one of the more well-known characters, the like side characters in that show. I think he's in like 5 or 6 episodes. It's good. It's well worth looking up. But all right, so those are all good picks. Let's move on to Hale. Andrea already went with Liam Hemsworth, who I think, so far as kind of being the slighter version and the quieter version, as Hale is, I think is a good pick. I like that more than I like Chris Hemsworth as the villain, personally.
Yeah. My brain latched onto that idea. Doesn't want to let it go.
I know. I think it's like I honestly I think it's a cool idea to have two brothers, just especially if you keep the boxing motif, just have them beat
Exactly.
the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Which again should not
is a
be a
cool
thing
idea.
for a fighter movie.
But you know what? I don't want it out. I want it in the movie. I want fighter pilots that have brain damage. Let's go. Doing training exercises over U.S. states
With nukes.
Yeah. All right.
What
So
could go wrong?
I went with someone who I think is a really great actor, and I think is someone whose career this year is going to really, really take off because he's in the new Ant-Man film and he's going to be in Creed, the new Creed film, which I don't really watch, but I saw the trailer and he looks very intense in that. And that is Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you have my attention.
Yeah, Amy, we know him from Lovecraft Country, a
I
good show that
love that
unfortunately was canceled
show.
after one season for no reason because it was quite popular.
Yeah, but even with that one season, it was enough. It was a
Yeah,
great show.
it was really cool, very interesting, and he's in a movie that kind of bombed, but I quite liked, called Devotion, which is about World War II fighter pilots, which is quite good. Better, I mean, it's not fantastic, but he was good in it. And he's someone whose kind of star is going to rise this year. And I think he's perfect for Hale because he has a very quiet intensity. He could also play the villain, by the way. He could play Deacons as well.
Yeah.
But I think he would be good as Hale, as someone who's quiet, but still strong enough and smart enough to kind of be the protagonist to Deacon's kind of psychopathy.
I like it. I'm very excited to see what like more of Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man, which probably releases in like 2 days, I think.
Yes, if you're hearing this, I have already seen the film because I'm going on Saturday or Sunday.
Ooh.
Sunday.
Sunday. We're going on Sunday.
We just got our movie passes, so we'll be there soon.
We did?
Nice.
Oh.
Surprise!
No, we signed up for movie pass. We're just waiting for the cards in the mail, but I was going to leave that part out for
Oh,
the podcast.
gotcha.
We can edit, Pat.
Editor
No,
Pat, save us.
I want the people to know about our movie pass.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Cinemark Movie Club. What about you, Amy?
No.
Wow, what a loser.
What the hell?
And you were so fast with that too.
It's almost like he set it up.
Yeah.
All right. Amy, who did you pick for Hale?
So my pick for Hale, I was going with the same character as in the original movie, the shy, quiet, sort of starting out, doesn't want to overstep lines. I chose a character that was actually in one of our previous movie picks, Ready Player One. I chose the character, I believe his name is Ty Sheridan. Is that how you say
Oh.
his name?
Yep.
I think he would just fit very well in that role. And he has
I
done
can see
some
that.
he has done some action, but you don't really need a lot of action. I mean, you don't really need that much action with him. I don't know.
If,
It depends
if we
on how-
remake the movie. If
We'd
we're
want someone-
properly
yeah.
remaking it and rewriting it, like we talked about John Wicking it a little bit.
Mhm.
But
Maybe.
I think he could still pull it off.
I think he could pull off the character
Yeah.
of the quiet but competent Hale. I think we've mentioned this before, but I have a list of people who their faces I just kind of want to punch. I don't hate them personally,
So
and I think he's one of the people on the list.
do you want to punch his face?
I don't know
Do you
what it
wanna
is about
punch
it. Like every time,
Alexander Skarsgård too, or is it just Andrea?
What?
You said you didn't like his face.
Oh.
Alexander Skarsgård?
I thought I heard. Oh, yeah, because he's staring into the camera. It's creepy. No, Pat, you also said this during Ready Player One. Ty Sheridan has a very punchable face. He might be the
I don't-
greatest guy, but his face is just like, well,
yeah,
Here
I
I am.
don't mean anything personal to Ty Sheridan, who is a perfectly fine actor and probably a nice person.
I don't agree with that.
That he's a nice person.
That I would punch him in the face. But don't forget, there is a boxing scene. So
Oh.
yeah, there you go.
I don't know whether I like him in the action role.
I mean, he was in X-Men.
he
Yeah,
was an
Scott
X-Men.
Summers.
See? Ha. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my pick.
All right. Nick,
Y'all
what
ready
about-
for another
about you?
excellent pick? I don't think you're ready for another excellent pick, but we're going to go for it. I'm
All right.
thinking Joe Keery, Steve from Stranger Things.
Steve is one of the only characters I actually like from Stranger Things. Wait, he's the older kid, right, from the first season?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I stopped watching Stranger Things after what was the terrible season in the mall?
Oh,
You know what? You just
no.
need to stop talking. Everyone likes
Yeah.
Stranger
Yeah.
Things.
I think
Don't alienate our audience, man.
Yeah, right.
Sorry,
You
everyone.
want no more views for this podcast?
I'm sorry.
Keep
I
talking.
forgot. I'm not allowed to insult the one show that is keeping Netflix afloat. My bad.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I would
There goes
argue
our
that,
special.
that the Queen's Gambit also kept Netflix afloat, and Squid Game.
That's true. They're doing a Squid Game.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that character, and the actor does a great job portraying him. But sell it to me, Nick, because I'm not.
I know. I've only
Yeah.
seen him in that one
Right.
character.
So
I haven't seen him in different aspects.
the only thing I've seen him in is actually Stranger Things, but he has that
He was in Free Guy.
Free Guy. Oh my
Oh,
God,
you're
he was
right.
Free
Yeah.
Guy.
Yep. He was like the guy that made
Yeah.
the Free Guy environment.
Yeah, we're gonna ignore that because it doesn't help my case whatsoever for this podcast.
He's a gamer.
I was thinking Steve in Stranger Things, baseball bat with nails driven through it kind of Steve. He's nice, he's low key until you push him too far, and then something snaps and he grabs his baseball bat with nails driven through it and goes and starts punting things. So I think we've already kind of seen that build up, and I think if you take that same kind of energy and just translate it over to Broken Arrow, I think it would do well. Now, if we went the John Wick route, I'd have to pick someone else. And we were talking about Charlie Cox earlier from Daredevil,
Mhm.
but have you guys seen the TV show Treason?
No, because it looked terrible.
It's really not bad.
Okay, the
Are
trailer
you
did
aware,
not do it
sir,
any
of what
favors.
podcast you're on?
The trailer made it look really bad, even though I love this type of thing. So should I watch the show?
You should give it a try. I enjoyed it. It really wasn't that bad. The part that was really bothersome for me is I've seen Daredevil.
Mhm.
So I've seen Charlie Cox as a blind person, and I can't unsee it.
Ha! I see what you did there.
Supposedly, Charlie Cox lost the role of Han Solo because he auditioned while he was playing Daredevil, and he forgot to look confident because looking confident has a lot to do with your eyes and making eye contact and keeping eye contact. And so he's used to playing Daredevil where he's like not looking at anything because you're not if you're blind.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so he auditioned for Han Solo like that, and they were like, no thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which totally makes sense. Like there were times where I auditioned for stuff and I didn't look at my scene partner, and they were like, "You have to look at people.
Yeah,
You can't just look at everything else except for the person in your scene."
It was honestly really distracting. It did take a little bit to get used to. But if it's anything to say about the show Treason, that was probably my biggest gripe with the show.
Mhm.
And
You
I
know-
would throw him in here for the running for Hale, but I've seen him as Daredevil, and I've seen him stare off into nothingness as a blind person, and it was so distracting in Treason that I'm just completely uninterested.
Charlie
I-
Cox, but he's really got to work on his eyes.
I like Charlie Cox better than the Stranger Things guy. If you go, have you ever seen the HBO show Boardwalk Empire?
Boardwalk Empire?
Boardwalk
No,
Empire.
I've
Yeah.
heard it's good.
It's really good. It's one of those shows where like the last season kind of lets it down, but up until the very last season was great. And he plays a character in that who I think he does a really good job being kind of this like mafia, like quiet, tough guy. And I think, Nick, if you had seen Boardwalk Empire, you would be like, oh, Charlie Cox is perfect for Hale. So I
Oh.
actually really like that pick, and I'm kind of sad I didn't think about him, although I like my pick too,
Oh,
obviously.
shoot.
But yeah.
Okay, all right. That's it then. I'm officially changing my pick to Charlie Cox if he doesn't look like a blind man.
Yes.
Because he would absolutely own this movie if we gave it the John Wick treatment too.
Yeah.
True. Is he blind in Treason?
No,
Or is he just no? Okay. Or is he's got the Daredevil hangover?
he's got the stare.
Okay.
Yeah, Daredevil hangover. I like that.
I really think I need to see this show.
Oh, Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The first 3 seasons are really, really well done, and they're very, very unique. It's a very, very unique gangster show. It's one of those shows that
It's
like
HBO.
post Sopranos, HBO was like, man, we need another gangster flick. Steve Buscemi plays the lead, by the way,
Nice. Okay.
and Kelly MacDonald, I think, is the female lead. Is that her name?
Yeah.
But they've got tons of people in there. I mean, Michael Shannon's in there.
I'm seeing this.
Yeah, just like Michael Stuhlbarg is in there. Jack Hudson plays a guy with a World War One war wound. He as a hitman, he's incredible in it. Like if you just go down the cast, you're like, oh, that person, oh, that person, oh, that
Yeah.
person. Really, really good.
We'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, but yes,
Yeah.
Charlie Cox, good pick. Steve from Stranger Things. Sorry, your show's not that good. Anyways, let's
Aw.
move on. Listen,
Well, you're not going to like my next pick then.
I'm just saying, if you make 4 seasons of a show and every season of the show is the same thing, it's not a good show. But let's move on. No rebuttals. Thank you. I rest my case. Carmichael, the female lead. Andrea, who do you have?
Well, pulling from Stranger Things again, I picked Natalia Dyer. Because in Stranger Things, she like wields a shotgun for a good chunk of the I almost said movie of the show, and she's smart, she's badass. She has like a solution for everything. Well, not everything, but a solution for many things. And like as I was watching Broken Arrow, I was like, could I see this actor playing this? Yes, I could. Could I see like this character doing this? Like, I don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I really liked it. So that would be my pick. I think she can do like a strong, but quiet,
Unassuming.
lead.
I think Carmichael's
Yeah.
unassuming character, right? She's just
Yes.
doing her job, and then she gets pulled into this adventure.
And then when she gets pulled into the adventure, she like steps up to the plate and kicks ass.
The true. I mean, I think as the role as someone who is unassuming, I think that's an okay pick. So I'll allow the Stranger Things reference to pass by.
I actually really don't like the pick.
I know, because you're stuck on yours.
Well, no.
Well, yes.
I mean, obviously, and to keep with the theme here, my pick is obviously the best pick. But I don't see your pick fitting the role. Like it just doesn't fit to me.
I mean, your pick just doesn't fit to me.
Incorrect.
I mean, she doesn't. I don't know.
I wonder how she would do in a. And not that she does nothing in the show, but a lot of Stranger Things is characters running from point A to point B, and then like maybe swinging a pole at someone or a bat or something. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of gunplay or hand-to-hand combat. So I don't know.
But the person who does hold the guns more often than not in Stranger Things is Natalia Dyer's character.
Boom. There we go.
Yeah. First season, she has a pistol. The most recent season, she has a sawed-off shotgun.
All right. I mean, I think she's fine in Stranger Things. And again, the word I'm going back to over and over again is unassuming, right? That's what the character is, and that's I think what she could bring to the role. Nick, let's skip over to you because you've said you've had the best pick, and I really like your pick. So who did you pick?
I picked Rebecca Ferguson. And I'm drawing on movies like Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, Fallout. She's going to be in the Mission Impossible movie coming out next year, Dead Reckoning.
Yes.
She was in Dune. She's got a lot of good movies under her belt. So being a badass, but also she was in Greatest Showman. So a little bit of a softer side too. So I can see her being very versatile, and depending on what the role ends up looking like, especially if this movie gets the John Wick treatment, she can go from anywhere from unassuming all the way to gun-toting badass.
Mm-hmm. She can
I
play
don't
the
know.
villain too. She was the villain in Doctor Sleep, which is a great film.
Ah, okay. I've
Maybe
not seen that.
Really good if you like The Shining. I actually like it as much as The Shining, one of my favorite like modern horror films.
I'm shaking my head right now, not because I didn't like it, but I think The Shining's better. It's still a good movie though.
I think older films, if they're classics, they tend to get like an unfair bump.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
But I still like it better.
That's right. They're both good films. But yeah, if you like The Shining and you haven't seen Doctor Sleep,
Yeah,
you should go see Doctor Sleep.
agreed.
But I think she could definitely pull off the action, Nick. So I think that's a decent pick.
The best pick, you might say.
Oh my God.
Pat, what did you pick?
The best pick so far, but my pick is Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is known for a lot of her horror films, but I think similar to Andrea's pick, she kind of has that kind of unassuming. She can play that kind of unassuming every woman, if that makes sense, and she often does that in a lot of her horror films, where she's just kind of there and ends up getting in trouble. But I think she can do the action as well. She was in Death Proof, which is that like Tarantino car movie. She was in Live Free or Die Hard, and recently she was in a movie called Kate, where she kind of plays a female assassin who ends up looking after a kid, which I didn't like,
That movie
but I
sucked.
thought, yeah, it wasn't very good, but I thought she was fine in it. And I think she could fit into this role where she needs to be kind of unassuming and drawn into the conflict, but also once she kind of takes a deep breath, she's competent and knows what she's doing, that type of thing.
You forgot the most important reference.
I've never seen it. I've still never seen
Oh.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I know,
What's wrong with
like
you?
nerd card
We
withdrawn.
bring this up every time because
Yeah.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead is a original remake podcast alum.
That's true.
In that we've picked her for casts before.
Yep. I don't know why you got to do it. You've
That
got
should be
extra
my
homework
pick,
this
then.
week.
Okay,
I'll
have to.
I don't know that you could recast that movie.
I know.
Oh,
I've heard it's very unique.
It is.
Yeah,
it is. It is very well done. I loved it.
It's fun.
but is it one of those films like I ever remember a while ago? Everyone was like, Napoleon Dynamite is the best comedy ever made, and then
Yeah.
like I watched it like 2 years
Wrong.
later, and it was really dumb
Yes.
because like the hype was over. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I hope
When I
it's not one
saw-
of those. I hope it's not one of those movies where I watch it now and I'm like, this isn't that good.
He won't like
No.
it, guys.
It's
He's not gonna like it.
He's not gonna like it.
No.
I mean,
No,
I remember
there's a chance.
I saw Napoleon Dynamite in the theater. When I was watching it, I was like,
Oh,
what the
so
hell
sorry.
is this? I saw it at the Little.
Oh,
And I was just like, what? I was with a friend and I was just like, what the hell did you bring me to?
I feel like that was like early internet days meme.
Yes.
Like people went and saw that and were like, oh God, I just gave up 2 hours of my life. I must bring someone else to this to make it okay.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, what's your pick?
For the character, I thought her name was Terry. Am I wrong?
Terry Carmichael.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Terry. Okay. For the character of Terry, I chose an actress sort of on the same concept of Pat, where it's an all-around woman. You could see her going down the street. It seemed like she's just a regular 9-to-5, nothing special, but strong. Probably could hold her own. Her name is Amber Mid-Thunder. She was the main
Love the
character.
name.
She was the main character in Prey.
Oh, that movie was great.
And she was
Oh.
also in, and I just look at her and I feel like she is
Prey.
The
I don't know.
Hulu
A good
Prey is the
actress.
Hulu version of Predator,
Oh, okay.
which was fantastic.
Okay.
So I looked at her and I think, she seems like an outdoorsy type of woman who could probably pick up a gun and shoot somebody. I don't know. Maybe not.
I
She
like
was
this
also in
lot.
a TV show that I absolutely liked Legion.
Yeah, we liked Legion a lot. It was
And
like the trippy X-Men show.
yeah, and her
Yeah.
character was a little off-putting, but still an action character in it, nevertheless.
Yeah.
She definitely had some hidden character elements where she was powerful and strong. So
Yeah. So this is a great pick that I didn't even think of. Prey, for those of you who haven't seen it, even if you're not a Predator fan, just go and watch this film on Hulu because it's free if you have Hulu, but B, it's imagine a Predator landing during the 17th century in the Americas. So there's Europeans are starting to colonize the continent. They are pushing back a lot of the Native Americans, and Amber plays a young woman in a Native American tribe who's starting to be pushed back into other places in the America, pushed west, but also her tribe comes under attack by a predator who is there to like try and hunt down the best prey, right? And so the idea that the humans don't just have machine guns and that they have to kind of use their tracking and hunting skills, it's really, really, really cool. And I think it's like right up there with the original Predator for me, like which one I like best.
Whoa, those are some words, sir.
Yeah.
Well, again,
I'm shocked you haven't seen it.
I'm not someone who I'm not someone who looks at a classic film and think the classic has to be the best, because I think classic films get too much credit. For example, I like the newer Blade Runner better than the old Blade Runner, and I love the original Blade Runner. And just like we were talking about with The Shining, where Doctor Sleep is fantastic and adds so much to that universe, Prey really is right up there with the Schwarzenegger Predator, and it's way better than Predator 2 or any of the Alien versus Predator trash. You know,
Pat likes my pick. I feel blessed.
yes. Normally I'd find a way to make fun of you, but this is too good.
You can't.
Well done.
It's too good.
Yeah. I feel like you guys had really good picks.
We're on fire tonight.
My picks are like, what would you do if you totally messed this movie up?
No, you had fun with it. You took it in a different direction, and I like that. I just, except for Carmichael.
The only one
I don't like.
dislike is the Chris Hemsworth, and I like his character. I just
Yeah, it's a
I
little.
don't see him crazy enough.
I do want to see Liam bit me in movie form, though.
Yeah.
You bit me. Yeah.
Liam bit me.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
So that was some good casting. Let's move on and discuss some changes we would make to the film. Andrea, again, since this is your pick, why don't you lead us off?
Yay. Okay. So I'll try to go through this quickly because I feel like I've got a lot of things. I mentioned that the story sucks. Rewrite the script. Like, I'm not a great writer, but I feel like I could do better. Every line in this movie is either cliche or bad or both. Like right up until the very end. I don't even remember what the last line was. Hold on. I'm gonna look this up because it's gonna bother me.
It's the stupid, sir, I found $20 burning in a bush.
Yeah,
God,
didn't he
right.
turn around? She say something?
Yes, because when she first finds
Yeah.
him, she like tries to arrest him, and then they do
Yeah.
that bit
horrible
over again.
line.
Yeah.
The
You're
corny,
right.
sir, turn around with your hands on your head.
Oh.
Or something stupid, equally stupid like that.
Yeah. It was like, oh, you're still under arrest, Captain. Oh, yeah? Well, I guess you better take me in. Cringe.
Oh.
Wow. Wow. I feel like it goes without saying you just update the CG where it needs to be updated. I also feel like this movie has way too many unnecessary characters. Like, Get rid of Giles, get rid of Pritchard, half the people in the Pentagon. Either you flesh out the story so that it's good, or you trim the fat and make it a leaner, 90 to 100 minute movie. It does not need to be an hour and a half. 90 minutes is an hour and a half. Whoops.
No, but I agree.
It does not need to be the length that it is. Like, I remember watching, like, how long do we have on this? Oh my God, why is it so long?
It did drag in parts.
It did.
Yes,
Like,
it did.
despite, like the core idea of the story is good, but despite that, the movie's kind of boring. Like, yeah, there's fight scenes and stuff. Yeah, an hour 48. Yeah, way too fucking long. I feel like that this movie is like missing something. I don't think it's romance, but I think there's just too much garbage.
I agree. I think you have what's his name, Delroy Lindo as that colonel. That's the only character you need.
Right.
He can
Outside
take
the main three.
Yeah, he can take all the people from the Pentagon, all the people in the other part of the like command centers. Just make him the guy who's in the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? Other than that,
Yeah.
you don't need to go to the Pentagon.
No, you don't. And I mean, I feel like that there needs to be more than a reason for Deakins to like go bad. I mean, I feel like the movie does tell us, but by the time we're given a possible reason, we're halfway through the movie, and Hale kind of speculates it's about the money, blah blah blah, and it's like, you said in the beginning that like, or you said that Deacon's character is, he doesn't think that the Air Force is doing right by him, so when he sees the reason being money, he's just gonna buck it and go, go for the money. I'd like to see more of that. I think we should absolutely 100% get rid of Howie Long. He has no godly business being in this movie. He sucks so bad. Like, he's just so bad. He should stick with football where he's better.
What are you talking about?
Oh my God, he's so bad. Like, every single line he said in this movie was just terrible.
I feel like he said a lot of lines too.
He did, and it was bad.
I don't think the acting was bad. I think the lines were bad.
No, I think he's a terrible actor.
He's a terrible actor. It's like, who did you pay to get this role?
I think you should keep his character, because I love the idea that John Travolta has thought about the entire plan, from making sure that the missiles can't be deactivated using a wrong code, to, hey, the people who are going to go get the bomb just have someone on the inside, and then it's easy. I don't have to interfere. I don't have to worry about anything else. I can have them report that the bomb is open so that they don't show up right away. I can have him kill the other bomb retrievers. I think that's a fantastic idea for a character.
Right.
But yeah, Howie Long's not great in it. Just get someone else.
Y'all clearly have not seen the Howie Long classic 1998's Firestorm.
Get out.
I sure haven't.
Right now.
Yeah,
my
don't.
God.
Just don't.
Was he the main character in this? Did they base a whole movie off of him?
Oh God. No, it looks like they didn't.
They absolutely did.
Oh, they did? I'm sorry, I wasn't seeing
did.
that properly.
He's the firefighter, and
I kind of want to watch that.
No, don't.
Just to see how bad it is.
Don't. It's not worth
Next
it.
remake.
You can't. Yep. Oh God.
For movies that we want to see remade, do they have to be movies where we've already seen them, or can it be just like, I want to see this movie because I know it's going to be bad, let's try it?
That sounds like a terrible idea. Let's not
I
do
think
that.
it would be a good concept.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's see. I also, so I'm a big believer in symmetry. When we were talking about Enemy Mine, like I said, if it starts with a voiceover, end it with a voiceover. It needs to kind of have balance. I thought that was really, I mean, it's probably overused and cliche, but I personally like it. I mean, the movie starts with literally boxing, and it ends with the same kind, it ends in the similar scene. It's like, it begins with just the two of them arguing, and it ends with just the two of them arguing, and Hale taking all of the quote unquote advice that Deakins gives him, interspersed with more really bad lines.
I really like that, the idea of like, they're boxing sparring partners, and then at the end of the movie it comes down to, okay, John Travolta wins every time, and he explained to Hale literally why he loses all the time.
Right.
And so Hale, does Hale stick or twist? And does John Travolta know that he's going to stick or twist? Right.
Right. And when the rubber hits the road, Hale can get the job done and, beat down his sparring partner.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I wanted to like poke more at was the fact we talked about this earlier. Like, is this movie supposed to be funny at all? And like, I come back to where, Deakins hits the guy with the club or whatever and goes, hush. And it's like, is that supposed to be funny? And there are many times where it's like, I'm laughing. Should I be? And I don't, like, depending on the story's viewpoint, I think a little bit of sociopathic humor would be appropriate. Deacon's viewpoint, but like, unless the point is to feel uncomfortable, which is also fine. But I don't know. I feel like it's okay for a movie about nuclear weapons to have some humor in it. Like, see Dr. Strangelove versus Failsafe, our second episode. But I feel like a rewrite and or better direction would probably fix that. Is this funny question?
I definitely think that a rewrite is in order because there's just too many corny lines. But I think some of them, like, I love the hush, hush, like, I love most of the stuff John Travolta says.
It's
I
funny.
love because he's absolutely out of his mind. Yeah, ain't it cool?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, a lot of the other characters, everything they say is stupid. And it doesn't need to be in the film. There's a character, speaking of like getting rid of some of the extra characters we don't need and kind of rewriting some of the lines. There's a character in the movie named Max. We know his name's Max because he says, "Hi, my name is Max," and he's only there so he fights Carmichael in the train, and she like hits him in the head with a hammer or something. Do you guys remember this scene?
Yeah, he's
And-
like, you thought I was some kind of computer nerd, right? That's the
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the
that
Navy
one.
SEALs. My name's Max. I don't care what your name is. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, I love that, but also it's dumb. You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to introduce a guy named Max as a nerd who's secretly a Marine, have him be in the beginning. Have him take Howie Long's role.
Yeah, there you go.
And have him be the, hey, I'm a Marine, and also I'm a genius, and I'm way too smart for this, so I'm going to join John Travolta being a psychopath, and have him be like the second, like the sub minion, whatever the secondary antagonist to Deakins. I think that would be great. Showing up, being like, "Hi, my name's Max. I know how nuclear weapons work. Also, I'm a Marine. Oh, you've hit me in the head with a hammer? Guess I'm dead now." That doesn't work for me at all. Like, you know what I mean? So you can definitely fix these problems, multiple problems, with the same solution in this film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that really stood out to me with this movie, and maybe it was because, like, I don't know why it was because of this, but like, it was this movie, I noticed it really strongly. But you know how sometimes a song will match up with the introduction of a character or a scene or something? There's a name for that, and I don't want to bore people with that. But I feel like that, during the last fight scene, there was a theme. When, you had Hale and Carmichael, there was a theme. And I feel like that this movie did, for me at least, a good job of evoking that sort of feeling anytime I heard that music with that scene, which is what it's supposed to do. But I feel like that really worked well for me. I liked it a lot. The movie does a good job doing that, I think, in my humble opinion.
The themes definitely work for the film. Like, I can hear them in my head right now.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I can hear the Carmichael Hale theme when they meet up, and it's like, like romantic. I can hear the kind of action, theme in my head. I'm not gonna try and hum it for the audience, but I'll spare you that. But yeah, you can kind of hear it in your head, and I think is it Hans Zimmer who did this film, because he does a lot of soundtracks that are like that.
I don't know.
I'll edit this out
sure
while I look up the soundtrack. Yes, composed by Hans Zimmer.
Oh, really?
Hans.
Yeah, composed by Hans Zimmer. So that makes sense, right? Hans Zimmer always has these themes where they always stick in your head, right? Like The Dark Knight or Inception, like you were mentioning earlier. Part of Inception is like some of the music, right?
Yeah. One thing though about the music, a lot of it is epic music, and it's used all over, like the epic music sounds. Like, yeah, there are themes for different people and scenes, but if you make everything sound epic, nothing is. But that aside, you're right. Like, I can hear that like guitar strum of that one sound that, you know, you kind of get when you hear Hale, or when you have Hale and Carmichael up together, or when Deakins and Hale like meet up or are about to meet up. For anyone who cares, the name of it is called the leitmotif, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, like, other than the fact that it's just too much of the epic all the time, I thought the music wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And that was just something that stuck out in my head that I thought was important to talk about, because it's a good thing instead of us ragging on the film. I've talked a lot. Your turn.
No, I think you've got a lot of really good points. I do like the composition by Hans Zimmer. I think it is good, but yeah, there isn't a lot of, I don't know the word I'm really looking for here. I want to say depth. Where like everything's at a 9 always. We don't ever tune down to a 4 or a 5 and have those relaxed moments to make that 9 feel like a 9, to make it punch like a 9,
To make it have somewhere to go.
Yeah. So like you were saying, everything being epic all the time means nothing is epic. Yeah, because the new normal is whatever epic used to be. And I kind of agree with that. Any single time an actor appears on screen by themselves, you're right, they do have their own little leitmotif, but it's epic in its own right. If you were to segregate that off and play it on its own, it's an epic track. And you play that for every single person in there, and it just becomes too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love Hans Zimmer's work in virtually everything.
When it's
But
not
I
repetitive.
But I think this one was a little much. I think, and maybe it came back down to the director saying, no, more. We need more. So I don't know. I could be making excuses.
I think for me, when it comes to, first off, I agree with almost everything, Andrea, you've said so far. But I was thinking about the first half of the film and how the action needs to change. I'm talking about the part of the film that's in between the bomber scene where it goes down and the final train action scene. Everything there, to me, I think needs to be improved. The truck chase was pretty boring.
Yeah.
The mine scene is underdeveloped and not particularly interesting. And the thing for me that got me is Amy tried to watch this movie twice and fell asleep both times right around the mine scene.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, Amy's going to hate this film. And then I refused to watch it again. So I made her watch it by herself. And she was like, oh, I finally finished the movie. And I thought the ending was really good. And it's right. Like, I think we've all agreed so far that the train scene is like the coolest part of the film.
It has the most potential.
Yeah. Even that can be improved, obviously, with more modern and better action. But yeah, that middle act 2 of the film, where between the bomb crashing and the train scene, is incredibly boring. It's slow. The action is slow. The action is generic. Like I said, there's a lot of just spraying bullets everywhere while characters dive out of the way, and barrels of something in a mine, explode or whatever.
And I feel like in between that section, that should be where the most information is, where you're getting the most intrigue, where you're actually realizing that he's on the wrong side and all the ins and outs of what's actually going on. And I don't feel that drawn at all.
They keep cutting away, right? We've mentioned that we want to get rid of a lot of these B characters that are sitting in rooms telling us what's happening. You get rid of those characters and you just have it cut occasionally to the Colonel, who, by the way, dies in this movie almost off screen. The helicopter, him and the other guy who flies in from Washington, who's supposed to be a character we care about, they both die in a helicopter, and then they just cut away immediately.
Yeah, it's like we don't care anymore.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, they're not like, thank you, Colonel, for giving your life for your nation. It's like, nope, we'll just forget about you.
I feel like this is this is a movie. Show us, don't tell me. right?
Yeah. And you can have, so if you cut out a lot of those B scenes, right, you can have kind of a constant thrill of, okay, we've got the missiles. Okay, Hale's stolen them back. Okay, we get to the mine. Okay, the nuclear bomb goes off. Okay, for somehow Carmichael hides on a boat for like 4 hours.
Yeah, the
whatever.
entire
doesn't-
boat scene
And
can
doesn't
just
get
go.
noticed. Like, why? Cut
Yes,
that
yeah.
out.
No,
Doesn't
no
need
one,
to
no one,
exist.
no one sits on the other the half of the boat she's hiding on. But so there's a lot of that middle part where you can make it constantly like upping the thrill level by being consistent, like go from the next scene to the next scene, and making the action really good, as opposed to, like I said, you know, as the action is the bullets are flying everywhere. It doesn't matter. That was cool in the 90s. We're past that. Make that better.
I agree with you though, even though there's a lot of not bad elements, but just elements I particularly don't like in movies, I still enjoyed it. So there has to be something good about it.
Yeah. Like, I enjoy this movie. It's terrible, but I love it.
I wouldn't say it's terrible. It has a lot of potential. Otherwise, we wouldn't be remaking it in this
Exactly.
podcast, right?
Right. I feel like this is another one of those movies, and I mentioned this in Jupiter Ascending, where it's like flipping through the channels. Oh, Broken Arrow's on. I gotta go fold the laundry. 2 hours later. Oh, I've just wasted my life. Guess the laundry's gonna have to wait.
It feels like Castaway, where Castaway is a movie that's like, oh, it's on TV. Like back, you know, when I lived with my parents way back when, I don't have cable now, but back, you know, when you were younger, you would flip through the channels to see what you wanted to watch instead of flipping through Netflix, and you'd be like, oh, Castaway's on TNT again. And then somehow you would watch Castaway for like the seventh time, right? So I feel like it's one of those films where it's like, oh, this is just randomly popped up on Netflix. You know what? I don't want to pay attention to the movie I'm watching. I'll put this movie on.
Yeah, it's like the movie that you put on when you need to like study or work or do something that's productive, but you just need background noise. Like you need that
Yeah.
to kind of.
Amy had actually said something like there are bad parts of this movie, but ultimately it's not a bad movie. I just wanted to point out there are many bad parts of this movie, and right out of the gate, you get that bad guy foreshadowing while they're piloting the B-2, where Travolta stares into Christian Slater's eyes, and they do that tight close up of just the eyes and covering the entire screen.
It does not need to be there.
Oh God, it was so bad. But
like just look at the camera, right? Like look right at me and say, "I'm the bad guy now."
Yeah, like stuff like that. And I think it also goes into the whole "show me, don't tell me" kind of thing. Like you're gonna figure it out. You're here for this 1.5 to 2 hour long roller coaster ride. Like, show me that Travolta's the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't give it away 16 seconds into the movie with this weird good versus evil staring contest.
Yeah.
I don't mind knowing that Travolta's the bad guy from the start. I mean, you would have known it from the trailers. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
What did
I
you
agree
say?
with Nick.
I don't like the way they did it.
Yeah, I don't either. Unless they were trying to make it like a surprise or something, in which case it's a really bad surprise.
The fact that we knew, but the other character, Riley, wasn't supposed to know, how is that? And he's supposed to know him the most. He works with him.
Yeah, it just didn't fit. I didn't like it. And there's many of those. Like the entire boat scene didn't need to exist.
Right. Fine. Or if it does, find another way to get Carmichael on the train separately from Hale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or actually follow through on the boat heist.
Yes.
Like, or maybe do the boat heist instead of the car heist.
Yeah.
Also, you can't do the boat heist in 2023 because the Southwest is in consistent drought for now until we die. So
yeah.
That lake they drove down in that movie doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, everyone.
Right. I was like, this is a historical piece.
Yep.
There used to be water in the desert.
One thing I do appreciate in this movie, they did attempt in many different types of scenes to do action. They did a mine scene, they did a boat scene, a train scene. Some people may think that's too much.
That's true. I bet the producer was like, okay, we've done a boat. But I don't know.
at the end of the mine scene, even though it was kind of obscure, I did think, what would happen if a nuclear weapon went off underground?
No.
What-
The mine scene needed to happen from a plot perspective because you had to show the government that you were not messing around. But the order of operations was off. You make your demands, the timer runs out, you set one off and cause panic and tell them the next one's for real.
Yeah, it's
But
like the movie True Lies.
Yeah.
That came after.
Yeah.
That's
So,
a
like,
great. That's a much better version of this film, actually. Now that
Yes, I put that on the list because that was the movie that I saw in my childhood, and now that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, I'm like,
yeah, it was
I
better
wonder what that's like.
for sure.
All right, so we've chatted about what changes we've made. We've made some casting changes. Final verdict time. I think this one should be pretty straightforward. But why don't we go ahead? Amy, why don't you start? Would you remake it?
Sure, why not?
Nick?
Absolutely.
And I agree. I also would love to see remake. Andrea, make it 4 for 4?
Absolutely. Yeah, we remade
Alright.
this. You know you're still under arrest, Captain.
Oh yeah, well I guess you better take me in.
And scene. Oh, cut that so that it works, Pat.
Yeah.
So we like end
Make
the
it-
episode.
make it
on
better.
that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Do
I'll try my best. Pat, edit it to make it funny. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Original Remake Podcast. If you'd like to provide feedback or have a question, please email us at remake.cast@gmail.com. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.